potential case, 2 missing juveniles. Abigail Joyce Williams.
Richard Allen was sentenced to 130 years for the brutal murder of 2 little girls.
She was still recording when he walked toward them. Libby German was 14 years old, and she had her phone out the way teenagers always have their phones out, casually, habitually, pointed at something interesting. On February 13, 2017, the interesting thing was the Monon High Bridge, a rusted, abandoned railroad trestle spanning Deer Creek in Carroll County, Indiana, a local landmark that kids from Delphi had been sneaking out to walk across for years.
It's not me. You're not going to make me believe it's me. You're not going to find anything that ties me to those murders, so I'm not really that concerned.
The extraction marks on that round match your gun. Perfect.
It was 430 feet long and 63 feet above the creek. It was illegal to be on it. It was exactly the kind of place that 13 and 14-year-old girls on a day off school would go. Libby was filming the bridge. She filmed her best friend Abby Williams, 13, walking ahead of her on the narrow wooden slats. And then, somewhere in the footage, the camera captured something else. A figure walking toward them along the bridge. A man. His hands were in his pockets. His posture was unhurried. He was wearing jeans, a blue jacket, and a hat. He was looking at them. And then the phone captured his voice. 3 words. Spoken flatly, almost quietly, with the specific authority of someone who expects to be obeyed. Guys, down the hill. What happened after those 3 words, in the minutes that followed, somewhere along Deer Creek on a February afternoon in Indiana?
Both of them, again, 13 years old. They're both about 5 feet 4 inches tall. Liberty, or Libby German, she has shoulder-length blonde hair and blue eyes. She was wearing a tie-dyed shirt, some gray sweatpants, and also black shoes. Then there's Abby, or Abigail Williams. She's also 5'4", with medium-length blonde hair and hazel eyes. She was wearing a gray zip-up sweatshirt and some jeans. They decided they wanted to have some fun, spend some time on the trail, and take some photographs. They were dropped off by a family member. They were supposed to be picked up around 3 o'clock, but when that family member arrived, the girls were not here. They weren't answering their text messages or phone calls.
Took investigators 7 years, 2 rounds of composite sketches, a 5-year cold case investigation, an arrest, a trial, and a conviction to reconstruct. And even now, with Richard Allen sitting in an Indiana prison serving 130 years, there are people who believe the full truth of what happened to Abby and Libby has not been told. Delphi, Indiana, is a town of approximately 3,000 people in Carroll County, about 60 miles north of Indianapolis. It is the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where the same families have lived for generations, where news travels before it can be verified, and where tragedy does not dilute itself across a large anonymous population but concentrates instead, touching nearly every household in some way. When Libby German and Abby Williams did not come home on the evening of February 13, 2017, their families called the police. When the police organized a search, most of Delphi showed up. Libby German was a 14-year-old 8th grader at Delphi Community Middle School. She was described by her family as outgoing, funny, and fiercely protective of the people she loved. She had a big laugh and a bigger personality. She was the kind of teenager who made her grandmother's house feel louder and warmer whenever she visited.
That 2 missing girls were in fact victims of murder.
Investigators solemnly identified the 2 bodies found in Carroll County as 13-year-olds Libby German and Abby Williams. Now, we still don't know what happened to them after they disappeared during an afternoon hiking trip.
And who had, that morning, been dropped off at the trailhead by that same grandmother, Becky Patty, who later told investigators she had watched the 2 girls walk down the path toward the bridge. Abigail Abby Williams was 13 years old, also in 8th grade. She was quieter than Libby, more reserved, the kind of person whose warmth showed itself in small consistent acts rather than grand gestures. She had been best friends with Libby for years. On a Monday in mid-February with school out for a teachers' conference day, going for a hike together was exactly the kind of thing they did. Their bodies were found the next morning, Valentine's Day, February 14th, near Deer Creek, in a wooded area not far from where the Monon High Bridge Trail ends. The Carroll County coroner confirmed they had been murdered. The specific manner of their deaths was not released publicly for years. But when prosecutors finally described it in court in October 2024, they told the jury that both girls' throats had been cut. Libby was found naked and covered in blood. Abby was found wearing Libby's clothes. Libby's phone was found underneath Abby's body. That phone contained everything. Indiana State Police investigators recovered the video footage and the audio from Libby's phone in the days following the murders. They had footage of a man walking toward the girls on the bridge.
Police in Delphi, Indiana say the families of 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old Libby German are one step closer to justice tonight. Today, officials confirm that 50-year-old Richard Allen has been arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder.
They had his voice. They had those 3 words. And they had, investigators later revealed, additional video that was never publicly released, footage whose contents were described in court documents as significant evidence in establishing what had happened and who had done it. In April 2017, police released the footage publicly and asked for the public's help identifying the bridge guy. The grainy image, a heavy-set man in a blue jacket, head down, walking, was seen by millions of people. Tips flooded in from across the country. Police released a composite sketch in 2017, then an updated composite sketch in 2019 that depicted a somewhat younger-looking man, a change that confused and frustrated people following the case, who wondered why the description had shifted. Throughout 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021, investigators interviewed hundreds of people. They looked at dozens of suspects. The case generated enormous online attention.
A date is now set for oral arguments in the Delphi murders appeal. It will begin Monday, September 21st at 10 a.m. inside the Indiana State House. According to the filing, the prosecution and defense will be allowed 30 minutes each to argue in front of a panel of 3 judges. Richard Allen was convicted of murdering 14-year-old Libby German and 13-year-old Abby Williams back in February of 2017. He was later sentenced to 130 years in prison. Allen's attorneys say the jury never got to hear evidence that they believe would prove he's innocent.
Amateur investigators on Reddit and true crime forums spent years developing their own theories, many of them elaborate, some of them pointing at individuals who had nothing to do with the murders. The investigation was managed carefully and secretively, with law enforcement releasing very little information publicly and declining to comment on most aspects of the evidence they had gathered. One of the people investigators interviewed in 2017 was a 50-year-old Delphi resident named Richard Matthew Allen. He worked as a pharmacist at a CVS in Delphi. He had lived in the town for years. He was married to a woman named Kathy. He was, on the surface, an unremarkable member of the community in which Abby and Libby had grown up. When investigators asked him about February 13, 2017, Allen told them something that placed him at the scene. He had been on the Monon High Bridge Trail that afternoon. He said he had seen the girls on the bridge. He denied meeting or interacting with them. He said he had turned around and gone back to his car. Investigators spoke to him. They noted the conversation. They moved on. 5 years passed. In 2022, under the leadership of a new investigation team that had been brought in to take fresh eyes to the case, investigators returned to Richard Allen. They obtained a warrant to search his home.
I can tell you that if that picture was, I mean, you can sit and take anybody and say, well, if they were wearing this and wearing that, that could be them. If that picture was taken from one of the girls' phones, here's the problem with that. Because I've never met them.
No, but listen, here's the problem with that. You know why you can put a lot of people and say they're wearing blue jeans and a blue coat, but you know what the difference is? No, you said you were there.
Well, sure I did.
We have people that saw you.
Okay.
Ricky said you were out on the bridge yourself.
There aren't that many people that saw me. I mean, I'm sure I didn't miss that many people. If they walked behind me, I guess.
Inside, they found knives and, critically, a gun, a .40 caliber Sig Sauer handgun. Ballistic testing on a bullet recovered from the crime scene, an unspent round found near the girls' bodies, indicated it was consistent with having been cycled through that specific firearm. The bullet had Allen's DNA on it. It could not be definitively linked to the gun through traditional ballistics, but the combination of the DNA evidence and the firearm's specific characteristics was enough to support charges. On October 26, 2022, 5 years and 8 months after the murders, Richard Allen was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder. He was 50 years old. He was taken to the White County Jail and later transferred to a maximum security facility. He was denied bail. He pleaded not guilty. The case that followed was, in its legal proceedings, one of the most chaotic and complicated in recent Indiana history. Allen's original court-appointed defense attorneys, Andrew Baldwin and Bradley Rozzi, filed a series of aggressive motions, including a theory that the murders had been committed by members of a Norse pagan religious group called Odinism and that their client had been wrongfully accused. They pointed to symbols allegedly found at the crime scene. Markings that they argued were consistent with Odinist rituals, and to a man who had been a person of interest in the early investigation. The judge presiding over the case, Special Judge Francis Gull, eventually removed Baldwin and Rozzi from the case over concerns about leaked evidence and conduct issues. New defense attorneys were appointed. The trial was delayed multiple times. Meanwhile, Allen's mental health deteriorated significantly during his pretrial incarceration.
Okay. So we took your gun, your 40 cal SIG, and we sent it down there to the lab to have it matched with an item that we located on February the 14th when we found the girls.
Okay.
And that item was a 40 caliber Winchester round. We found that at the scene.
Okay.
The extraction marks on that round match your gun.
Perfect.
So
this is okay.
Just hear me out. I'm just trying.
I am.
So this is the round. Okay. Those are the extraction marks. That's the best picture of them. There's actually 3 of them.
I don't even know how my bullet would have gotten out there if that's my bullet.
It's without a doubt that this is very scientific. So let me show you a picture of this round where it was found. That's the round right there. It hadn't been out there very long. That is Liberty's foot. It's within 6 inches of one of the dead girls' bodies.
There's no way.
There is.
I'm telling you, there's not.
How did that round get there, Rick?
I don't know how the round got there. What I'm telling you is, if that is truly what you're saying it is, it's not my round.
He was transferred to a psychiatric facility. He was evaluated multiple times. His attorneys argued that he was not competent to stand trial. Prosecutors disagreed. The competency question was ultimately resolved in the prosecution's favor. Then, during his pretrial detention, something happened that prosecutors would later describe as a critical piece of evidence. Allen made phone calls to his wife Kathy from jail. Those calls were recorded, as all jail calls are.
Breaking news, a jury has found an Indiana man guilty of killing 2 teenage girls. Richard Allen was convicted on 2 charges of murder and 2 charges of felony murder.
And when that verdict was announced just a few minutes ago, these sidewalks were filled with people who were crying. Some of them were cheering out of excitement. They called it justice for these 2 girls' families.
Tonight we'll be able to go to sleep knowing that we're all safe again.
In those recordings, according to prosecutors, Allen made statements that amounted to a confession, telling Kathy, in language that prosecutors characterized as an admission of guilt, that he had killed the girls. Allen's defense team argued that these statements had been made during a period of severe mental health deterioration and did not reflect a reliable account of events. That a man in a psychotic state saying something on a monitored jail call was not a confession in any meaningful sense. The trial of Richard Allen began October 18, 2024, in Carroll County, the same county where the murders had occurred, population approximately 20,000, in a courthouse in Delphi itself.
I don't know how did a bullet from your gun get out there?
I don't know, honey.
Because they said it came from our gun.
I know that's what they believe me, that's what they're telling me.
But how did it get there?
I don't know.
And they said there was one in your box above your dresser, the matchstick.
They showed me that picture too. I can't explain it. And I
can't either. They keep asking me and I don't know how to answer that.
The judge had decided, after considerable legal argument, that the trial could proceed in Carroll County rather than being moved elsewhere for a change of venue, on the basis that an impartial jury could be found. Prosecutors Nick McClelland and Gull walked the jury through 7 years of evidence. They played the video from Libby's phone, the footage of the man walking toward the girls on the bridge, the voice saying "Guys, down the hill." They presented the ballistic evidence linking the bullet to Allen's gun. They presented the jail phone calls. They presented cell phone location data placing Allen in the area of the crime scene on February 13, 2017. They presented testimony from a man who said Allen had made incriminating statements to him while they were both incarcerated. The defense presented their case.
For a reason, not because
you guys are trying to kill somebody.
You're trying to tell me that I'm not making this round up, Rick. It is what it is.
I'm done talking. Arrest me.
I just wanted to apologize to you.
What's going on, sweetheart?
I did it.
Well? You did
No,
what?
I did it.
What?
I killed Abby and Libby.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't, Darren.
Yes, I did.
Don't say
I don't know why.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't, Darren. You're not feeling well. There's something wrong. They've messed up your meds or something there.
No, I mean, I evidently did it.
No, you didn't. Why would you say that?
Because maybe I did.
No, you didn't, dear.
I think I did.
No, you didn't. They are screwing with you there, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. There's something wrong. They are messing with you. They are messing with your mind.
Pointing to inconsistencies in the investigation, questioning the reliability of the confession calls, and arguing that the physical evidence was insufficient to establish guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. They were not permitted to present the odonism theory at trial. Judge Gull had ruled that the defense had not provided sufficient evidentiary basis to support it. The jury deliberated for approximately 19 to 20 hours across several days. On November 11, 2024, they returned a verdict. Guilty on all 4 counts. 2 counts of murder. 2 counts of murder while committing or attempting to commit kidnapping. Outside the Carroll County Courthouse, the crowd that had gathered cheered. Libby's older sister Kelsey German told reporters, "Today was the day." She had been 19 years old when her sister was murdered. She was 27 when the verdict came in. Libby and Abby's families had waited 7 years, 8 months, and 29 days for that moment. On December 20, 2024, Judge Gull sentenced Richard Allen to the maximum possible term, 130 years in prison. He will never be released. In his final statement before sentencing, Allen maintained that he did not commit the murders and that he had no memory of doing so. He said, "I did not kill those 2 girls." His wife Kathy, who had remained publicly supportive throughout the proceedings, told reporters as she left the courthouse that the case was not over. She was right.
I did it. Kathy?
What?
I did it. Do you still love me?
Yes, dear. But you didn't do it.
See, this is the path that we go down. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here. Hi.
His attorneys filed a notice of appeal almost immediately, raising issues about the conduct of the original defense attorneys, questions about the judge's handling of the case, and arguments about evidence that they contend was improperly admitted or excluded. The appeal was filed formally in December 2025. As of early 2026, the Indiana appellate process is underway. There are details of this case that were kept sealed or were never publicly released. Aspects of the crime scene, the full content of Libby's phone footage, the complete basis for the bullet evidence, that may be addressed in appellate proceedings. There are people who followed this case for 7 years who remain unconvinced by the verdict, who continue to believe that the investigation pointed in other directions and that Richard Allen may not be the only person responsible. What is certain is this. On a February afternoon in a small Indiana town, 2 girls went for a hike they had done before, on a trail their community used regularly, in a place they had every reason to believe was safe. A man walked toward them on a bridge. He said 3 words. And Libby German kept recording. She was 14 years old. She was smart enough, or instinctive enough, or simply lucky enough in that terrible moment to keep her phone running. She could not save herself. But the footage she captured saved the case. Abby Williams was 13 years old. She was wearing Libby's clothes when they found her. Libby's grandmother drove them to the trailhead that morning. She watched them walk down the path toward the bridge. She went home to wait for them. They never came back. And in November 2024, 7 years and 9 months after she watched them walk away, a jury told her, and told their families, and told the town of Delphi, Indiana, that the man who had taken them would spend the rest of his life in a prison cell. Today was the day, Kelsey German said outside the courthouse. It had been a very long time coming. But it came.